Xnull here, and Cobalt B is in the game, and we gotta talk about her changes, because some of her changes mean so much more to global than you might have imagined. She is in a bit of a rough spot in CN. Well, not a bit of a rough spot. She's a dead character in CN. So in CN, her shatter value is 6.5. Her charge value has not changed, it is still 10, but now the shatter has now been changed from 6.5 to what is it, 12.5 shatter. Now, I'm not saying this makes Cobalt be an insanely good unit now. She has redeemed herself because she turned into a shatter unit. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is this change, this unprecedented change, this means that TOF Global is willing to go through these drastic changes in order to somehow make all characters viable, because as far as I can see, that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make all characters viable. So with this change, this also means that all future characters, we cannot be too sure of whether they're going to be a charge character or a shatter character. Whether you have been planning to make a team of this charge character in the future, this shatter character in the future, and then you have your support or damage buffer as your third pick. It's all up in the air. It doesn't matter what you have planned because it can change. And to me, that's beautiful. That means it keeps things interesting. It'll keep us on our toes and not be just complacent and just follow whatever the CN meta is. Hopefully though, my fear is with these drastic changes, TOF Global may make some changes that instead of making the character good, it might turn out to be bad. The character's whole kit is meant to be a charge character, and then they change that character into a shatter character without changing the kit. It may turn out to be a dud character. It could neuter the potential of the character. So that is also a possibility. I am hoping it doesn't happen. Hopefully, because we do want all characters to be viable. That's what I wanted to talk about regarding the shatter change on Cobalt B. There's really no way to know how effective she's going to be at shattering shields until we actually get to test her out. Now, let's move on to talking about Cobalt B herself and her kit, and what I think about her in its current state without her being released yet. So do take this with a grain of salt because there may be some changes to be made here in the future for TOF Global. First and foremost, Cobalt B does have the Flame Resonance. That, I guess that's pretty obvious. Every other character that came before her in the limited banner had the Elemental Resonance. So if you're running, say, King or Huma as your main DPS or Shatterer, if you're planning to build a fire team now or in the future with future fire characters, you might want to grab Cobalt B. There are people who say that there is Ruby will also have the Flame Resonance. If she does have Flame Resonance, then you can pick between either Cobalt B or Ruby. I personally would just go for the playstyle that you like, not necessarily what is meta in CN, because again, Global is a different beast now. We don't know how Cobalt B is going to fare compared to Ruby or any other fire character in the future. And if you're chasing meta, I think it's unsustainable, especially if you're F2P. There will always be stronger characters in the future. So I think what you should do is enjoy the game and pull for the characters you like. But that's me. If you disagree, that's fine. You can go for meta. Back to Cobalt B, I do see a lot of problems with Cobalt B, especially when you are trying to get her max potential. Say you're willing to spend some money, or if you're a whale, when you want to get everything. I see lots of like pitfalls or traps with her kit. A1, it says each round of attacks deals additional damage equal to 2% of the target's current HP. Cannot exceed 180% of attack. So in CN, this was only applicable to weapon skill. Anytime Cobalt B does her weapon skill, it adds 2% of the enemy's max HP as bonus damage up to 200% of her attack. The CN one is very bad because her weapon skill has a 60-second cooldown. Every 60 seconds, you'd be able to do a little bit of bonus damage from her A1. I'm happy they changed this for Global and made it each round of attacks deals additional damage. However, we don't know yet what each round of attacks means. I'm thinking this could mean that each time she does her full auto attack animation, like all of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits, then she will deal this bonus damage. Or it could mean each attack, but I think that would be pretty OP if it means each attack. So we have to wait and see what A1 actually does. Let's say you have 10k fire attack, then each time you deal this damage, if for example you're fighting a boss who has millions of HP or something, then you're going to deal the maximum damage, which is 180% of your current attack. So if this is fire attack, we're talking about 18,000 fire damage to the enemy. 18,000 fire damage, I think, yeah, it's a nice bonus damage, but if it only applies after 5 normal attacks, the full auto attack animation, getting A1 just for that little bit of tiny bonus damage is not worth it in my opinion. But if it means each attack, we'll have to wait to see. Now this is where it gets really muddy for Cobalt B. If you're going for A3, hey, if you're F2P, don't need to worry about what I'm gonna say next because you're not gonna get A3. So for A3, she will apply an ion scorch. Can't say these words. She will apply an ion scorch on targets that are already burned. Keyword is targets that are already burned. And then she will apply an additional debuff on top of it. The problem is she doesn't have burn anywhere in her kit. She does have the burn here, which is when other weapons are fully charged, her next attack will burn the target. The consistency of this is not all there. You're not always going to have charged weapons, and you're not going to always be applying burn to a lot of enemies. It's kind of hard to do that. So when you look at her kit, her normals, her dodge, her skill, none of these apply any burn. And that presents a problem for A3. How are you going to apply Iron Scorch if you're not burning your enemies? What you're gonna need here is a burn from some other source. I think the easiest one to get for many players is the A1 King. A1 King does burn enemies when he shatters their shield. So once you shatter the shield with King, you then switch over to your A3 Cobalt B and you apply an Iron Scorch using your Heavy Bombardment branch skill or your dodge attack. So this A3, even though it gives you more DPS, you need other things to make it work. You already spent so much money and it still doesn't work. Another source for that is her matrices, but also that is another huge problem. This is a leak from SobaTOF on Twitter. We don't know if this is going to be the final version of her matrices in Tower Fantasy Global, but here it is. The 2-piece set increase damage against debuff targets by 14%. Sounds good. The 4-piece set allows your dodge skills to inflict burn upon hit. I cannot stress this enough, and I have said this many times in my videos in the past. Getting the 4-piece limited matrix is whale territory. Absolutely far deep into whale territory. I don't think F2P players will be able to get the limited 2-piece set even. If you have A3 Cobalt B, you would either need A1 King or the 4-piece matrix to even make use of the Cobalt B A3, which is insane to me. I feel like A3 Cobalt B needs a lot of work. She needs to be reworked. Her advancements need to be reworked. You should not be getting an A3 of a character, especially if you paid for it, and then have it not work unless you pay for some other stuff. It's like required DLC. There is another source though of the burn, and that is in her A6. So if you really want to make her A3 work, you gotta pay more, and then you'll be able to unlock her A6, which makes her skill inflict burn for 15 seconds. But this still is problematic because her barrage again is a 60-second cooldown. I don't know what the devs are thinking with Cobalt B, man. If she is dead in CN and nobody uses Cobalt B, I think TOF Global devs should have stepped up and not just change this value from the shatter from 6.5 to 12.5 and really did major changes with her advancements. Just turning her into a shatter character, I don't think solves the problem, and it's that her advancements don't work. So this is a whale concern. If you're F2P, then you can go for A0, assuming that she's good at A0. We will have to wait and see. I've said that so many times. Why are you here? I'll say hi. Yeah.
Hi.
So to get her burn effects, you have to burn money. Devs should swap the A6 and A3 bonus. Honestly, yeah, they should swap the A3 and A6 bonus. You gotta give her burn first before giving her Iron Scorch. Iron Scorch. I do want to go back to the 2-piece Cobalt B set. This is actually a pretty good 2-piece for some characters. Let's say you're maining Huma or maining Frigg, and you're using a 2-piece Huma on both of them. Then you'll be applying bleed, so the enemies will always be debuffed So you can also go for the 2-piece Huma and the 2-piece Cobalt B. I think this is really good because before in the CN, I believe the 2-piece set and the 4-piece set were swapped. So you couldn't get the damage against debuff targets unless you get the 4-piece set, which is overshadowed by certain 2-piece combinations. But because they swapped it, the 2-piece set of Cobalt B is now viable with some other 2-piece combinations. So I just wanted to touch on that, but I do think you should be careful with your limited matrix pulls. We are getting them from sources like Artificial Island, and some events do give them. Be very, very careful how you spend those limited matrix pulls, because some of the future limited matrices are very, very good, assuming they are not nerfed in global. My final words on this is that I think you should really pull for characters that you will enjoy. I personally do not care if Cobalt B is going to be weak. I am gonna pull for Cobalt B because she's fun. Hey, if you guys want to join a community of tower fantasy players who are active and helpful, you can join our Discord. That's discord.gg/xfam, and I'll see you around.
Look at the gun.
You like the gun?
Yeah.
You like
Look
the
at
gun?
gun. Look at Cobalt B's gun.
Yeah.
So strong.
So strong! Guys, you heard it here first. Cobalt B's gun is so strong. So make sure you pull for her.